My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. All right, it is currently Friday, August 2nd, 2024. It's 12:03 p.m. This is upon my departure of third-party facilitating venue Best Western, located at 2642 Newport Boulevard in Costa Mesa, California. And this is the criminal system that the people of the state have facilitated, have enabled, have aided the government that's engaging in, that is acting with the state, that is conspiring with the state to murder or kidnap an American citizen. This is what federal group stalking is. This is why you are engaging in federal group stalking as an entity. And it is by engaging in the criminal elements of monitoring. And it is also in service to Satan. It is demonic activity. This is relevant to what is the intent to terrorize and psychologically torture while a population keeps you under surveillance. This is occurring, and I'm going to document the people of the state by license plate 5RTM136. This is upon my departure. Again, it's beyond my documentation. This is supplementing what is the totality of the evidence against the people of the state, who was where, doing what, when they were doing it with the state. 9JKR378, license plate 798 PSJ, that's Oregon. License MO15KO, license 54572X2, license 9LTW438, 9GBU226. License LLE MO7. Sorry, hold on a second. And license. License plate 7CSF935. And the light source is directly over the top of my head, which I'm going to capture right now. It's currently 12:05 p.m. It's directly over the top of my head at the entrance where I'm driving out of the Best Western, the same entrance where the people of the state are present, driving around inside and out after 4 p.m. This is capturing the impossibility regarding regarding the fact that the sun would be at the same address, and let alone, remember, it's not just at the same location. Obviously, I'm there at that same location. It's the fact that it is exclusive to me. And that's also shown through the impossible light activity, the ongoing stalking in helicopters, the ongoing group stalking of the entity that engages in and employs demonic behaviors, which is the amplification, the engineered light conduct, the targeting with the light activity, all of which is showing not only are the demon possessed engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, but they show through their demonic behavior that they are indeed targeting a specific person. And it is demonic, and it is designed to terrorize and psychologically torture. And that equals what is a substantial means of providing justice to an American citizen that's subject to the system. And it is serving for civil and criminal prosecution of the people of the state. And there are many aspects to the people of the state. Not only, for example, Todd Speaker, who I'm going to prosecute civilly and criminally, but the use of his real property. That's a means of recovery. The fact that you provide your property and the entities engage in surveillance on your property that you own, you're going to be liable for that. This is to disincentivize the people of the state who provide their businesses, such as Amazon Prime, such as speaker companies. Literally, and you have the evidence of it, because not only is it occurring on the grounds of what is a workplace, the employees were group stalking as well. This is insurmountable evidence, and a fake sun remained over that workplace, which is also where I lived. This is how you know what the people of the state were doing. As I go to a different location, there's not possibly any sun that would remain ever. First of all, even if you didn't compare it to Best Western in Costa the MESA, but the sun would remain over Alvarado Gardens over me for the duration of the day from rise until set. That's speaking to what the people of the state engage in. And the civil and criminal prosecution is massive. And this is justice because the government is engaging in a massive crime. And it is designed to result in an American citizen not surviving it. Okay, and if not losing their life, you're talking, and then the government remaining to control the narrative, you're talking about being kidnapped somewhere where that's as egregious, being kidnapped in a facility where you are subject to psychological torture, because in the facilities, they're group stalking. All right, so it is currently 12:08 p.m. and this is P.O.C. All right, it is currently 1:22 p.m. I'm documenting, first of all, the maintenance of a light source that engaged in an outright departure from being the sun that would be over Best Western in a manner where I could see it over the top of my head from 10:30 as a matter of documentation this morning at 9:46 until after 4 p.m. Where the people of the state would like to suggest that sunlight naturally occurs, manifests in the shade while they drive under covered structures, and light just ricochets off of buildings all around and even into the depths of buildings. That is the pattern of conduct. And while I'm on the 710 North. The demon-possessed are pacing in relevant position as I'm seeing through my front windshield and commercial airline planes, and the fake sun remains directly over me. And I've been capturing, and you can see the light source through the rear windshield of the demons who are crossing path. This is the massive surveillance that's underway anywhere that you're going, all places. This is also documenting the sex offender. This is documenting the psychopath. This is documentation of what is the stalker that is the state of California. Engaging what is demonic pacing in the sky and all over the roads. Both directions on the freeway are monitoring, and the entity is engaging in all manner of pattern of conduct. So I'm going to document the people of the state. All right, group stalking in a Maserati, 8 SYN 597. Okay, it doesn't matter how much money they're paying for their car when they're a demon engaging in crossing a path. Okay, 8 YCT 582, 8 YVV 246. License 5KKC 579, 74581X3. I am looking at the highway freeway sign. It says Imperial Highway, Firestone Boulevard, and Florence Avenue. These are the upcoming exits. I'm on the 710 freeway, subject to the criminal pattern of conduct, which is an ongoing conspiracy by the entire state. And that's why the specific environment follows you where you go. That's how you're identifying stalking by population. That's how you're identifying the demon-possessed who are engaging in that. Okay, that's a conspiracy to murder and kidnap somebody. License 6MBW 311, I believe, substantially similar. JB and Hunt, heavily documented group stalker. They are group stalking on the freeway. The back license plate on JB and Hunt, a commercial actor, license 679 2GN. And that's an out-of-state license plate. License 49585M1. License plate 9DZS 156. And again, Southwest Airlines is seen through, is readily identifiable through the colors of those through the colors of that plane. But the entity is using the Long Beach Airport. They're group stalking. Planes coming from the airports as I'm along the freeway, so you're able to identify where the venue is, and also it speaks to the state actors, the police departments, the sheriff's departments, who are using aircrafts to maintain relevant position with the people who are surrounding. 6BPC099, 8ELP719, 8LYC701, 9LAD274, 8RGU749, 4PGW525, 6UOC. Hold on, 6ULC 703, 9JLG 932, 13779J1. I'm at Imperial Highway, exit 12 on the 710, license 9COA 716. Let me capture the fake sun right over me. All right, I am capturing the scientific impossibility that the sun is over my head at my front door of Alvarado Gardens at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6. That it is over my head at the leasing office where, again, the state's conduct heavily engaged in terrorism and psychological torture using helicopters. The state of California, the LAPD, Dominic Choi, that demon-infected and highly corrupt agency, is engaging in the same pattern of conduct that I'm subject to. Now that's how you have that scientific phenomenon and what is the significance of presence all around you in the sky space and on the grounds. 53926H3. That's a commercial actor, LMS Electric, license number 887117. They are engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring on the 710 freeway with the state of California. License And if they're en route on the job, I'm going to sue that company. What that third party is doing right now and who they're doing on whose watch is relevant to civil and criminal prosecution. 75687U3. While the people of the state utilize their business, while you are engaging in any frolicking or that which is reasonably related to your work, that employer, your employer, that demon-possessed third party who is working for whatever company is going to be prosecuted civilly and criminally. All right? License 8SNK555. License 6ZWM072. EJMARRO. License 8BAR130. 53926. Oh, I already read that. That's the same LMS Electric. License 7TWY161. 9KVF669. 8ADG 584. I believe I read, perhaps if not, 9BPR779. Sounds familiar. I believe I read it. 84304T3, that's Traffic Control Incorporated, and I believe they were group stalking as I was going to the Social Security office in Los Angeles, where the entity kept a fake sign at 9:03, I believe it was during the 9 o'clock hour, over the Social Security office at Columbia and 8th Street, and then you're going to remember at 9:46 in the morning, it's over my head, and in Costa Mesa, over the hotel of Best Western. And that's the pattern of conduct, that traffic control, group stalking in the middle of the streets in Los Angeles, using their vehicles as light activity. That's the demonic activity that commercial actors participate in to help the state. They are engaging in the conduct of the criminal activity of the state. They do so vicariously. That's what the people of the state do. That's their role. 08070B3, 8TDH 885, license 61456Y3, license 8YYM675, 8MKU519, 67820T2, 9KDT324. License 59875C3. License, that's JB and Hunt again. License 40652C3. That's AC Catering Incorporated. License 8KCM488. Highway Patrol, California Highway Patrol, group stalking, light activity, relevant positioning. License 1540354, Federal Prison. 8PBP885, 8JLT536, 29350L3. Let me be clear, a car crash? And they're honking while there's a car crash. That's audible activity. So let me get this license because they're going to federal prison. License 678, license plate 67820T2. They're group stalking with the people. The entity engages in what is criminal summoning. A car crash under the fake sun is the pattern of conduct. The entity is pacing in commercial airline planes. They can have a car crash. They can get their insurance involved. They can claim whatever its admission to criminal presence, and the entity is simultaneously group stalking. And those license plates that I just read, those last two, that's federal prison. The entity engaged in the car crash, I read those two license plates after CHP. The two immediately following, the three immediately following, that's federal prison. The two engaging in the creation of a car crash in relevant position. These are the desperate measures, by the way, that the entity goes to engage in what's supposed to be a peer. This is realistic. This has nothing to do with a targeted individual. The superseding facts remain the specific environment. Demons that know where I'm at inside of a hotel, amplifying audible activity, they're not missing each other when you have a car crash in relevant position. They know exactly where I'm at. They stalk with demonic methods of targeting, and they also stalk with demonic and psychotic methods of creating a car crash in relevant position. License 46105T3, and I've documented the Pomona Police Department engaging in that same exact creation of a scene. It's called criminal summoning. 28930Y3. License 8WUP110. And remember, my destination is a matter of public information that's engaged in Title 18 criminal conduct. Error mark is crossing path. The entity is aware of where I'm going. A car crash en route to my destination is well within the pattern of conduct. Remember that. Okay? But nonetheless, you can be in a car crash all you want. The crime scene doesn't cease to exist. There is no exception. In the same way that they can pick up a body in an ambulance and they're monitoring the target individual. And everybody I just read, group stalking with CHP, that's a threat to your life, and that's federal prison, all the same. License 8LGP291. P.O.C. I'm at what is Huntington Park exit on the 710. And the entity is keeping a fake sun directly over me, and the people of the state are engaged in demonic pacing and showing the world all the ways in which a government targets you in concert with the people of the state. It is, again, 1:30 p.m. This is P.O.C. 6LNG072 is a sex offender and is violating my privacy while I am at third-party facilitating venue Chase Bank, and all of my banking information is going to be made public. And I'm going to document these terrorists pacing in the parking lot under the fake sun. 6ZGH494. And again, this is the Chase Bank that is in Glendale. And again, remember the Chase Bank that's in Doherty, California, the fake sun and engineered light, the fake sun that's over the bank in LA, the 1600 North Vermont, the fake sun, the helicopter activity, and the engineered light inside of the venue. 9DBX018 is a sex offender as well, molesting with the other demon that molests with an impossible occurrence, engineered light, that likes to touch on my body. And they also like to violate my private information regarding how much money is in my account, what I'm using my Chase Bank for, whatever purchases I'm making, and also literally the conversation with the teller is public information while demons pace all around inside and outside of the bank, just like what was happening while I'm inside of a hotel room in Orange County, where the sun is no longer going to be over Best Western at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. 69265N2. DH82A25, paper plate on a black Compass. Compass. That's a Jeep Compass with a paper plate on it. License plate 6GNY399, BMW 5LVR 9KSS907, and all of their information is also going to be evidenced on the business records of Chase Bank. I'm a third-party facilitating venue where I'm subject to terrorism with the people, and Chase Bank are the people. And the Chase Bank at 1600 Vermont, they're going to federal prison. LAPD did them a disservice by flying in circles in front of me under a fake sun amongst engineered light over that bank, and they're group stalking with that. People go to federal prison, and it will not stop with regard to some employee inside of JP Chase Morgan. You're going to be met with the same exact justice. AGIA 698, license 9EFN 963. Now you can drive off. License 8REL 811. License using their black Tesla as a means of audible and light activity. Okay, the demon inside of this Tesla, the license plate is so funny. Monitoring all the way until I document them. 9FOP024 deserves the federal case that they're getting. They deserve it. License 8XPF730, 9DZR344, 8FEN929, 8XGC877, 8BPK761, 7VZD469. My upright shadow is appearing in front of me on the side of that demon's car. 69265N2, 8BMM213. 34369P3, 8FCG056. Hi. 9JCL038, 37434B1. And I will show you again the light source that's over me. Chase Bank means where terrorism is underway. Chase Bank represents the people of the state, and not different from Amazon Prime or FedEx or UPS or speaker companies. The people of the state using their businesses while they're engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, just like Best Western. Just like Town Place Suites by Marriott, where the fake sun is over me, which is a phenomenon. It could not possibly be the natural environment. This is where the crime scene is underway, however. And then you're understanding and prosecuting for all the laws that they are simultaneously violating while you're subject to terrorism. These are demons pacing in the parking lot, demons pacing on surveillance cameras inside of Chase Bank. And these are demons that are surrounding on the roads and highways all around the bank, where a fake sun remains over me. CASEYLE, 9AVC238. And it's 3:05 p.m. I'm going to capture the light source, 9CUU741. This is, again, 3:05 p.m. with the light source over me, and it's nowhere near Alvarado Gardens. Okay, this demon 9CUU741, terrorism via directed light. Light activity moves all across the far-reaching, inside of to the shade where demons are on camera at the tellers. They're monitoring while their back is to me, and engineer light moves across the shaded venue while that demon with the license 9CUU crosses path. They're monitoring together. Okay, like I said, they didn't have a meeting today about what we're going to do when Erica goes there. That's not what demonic activity is, nor does it require that. Satan is using all of them all together. They are in sync in the spirit. This is demon possession and demonic activity, and the demonic environment is how you know that. Let me be clear. Demons are operating communication devices inside of Chase, and they are represented by all the people of the state who are in this parking lot and all around. They're engaged in Title 18. That's an independent basis for federal prison. All right, you're not just getting a criminal record for engaging in state surveillance with the Glendale Police Department, with the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. You're catching a federal charge, which is the basis for federal prison for engaging in federal stalking. While the entity is providing evidence and being so desperate, being so loyal to Satan, you're going to catch some very serious federal charges. It is currently 3:06 p.m. This is P.O.C. Okay. That's amplified audible activity. Turning onto 3rd Street. This is the same 3rd Street where I was at, where The light source remained over me while I was en route to the Social Security office. This is where LAPD has captured group stalking in a helicopter flying in relevant position over the street right above me, and I'm capturing the fake sun that's right over me. And what I was speaking to in the video is how Brinks security, while they're bearing weapons under the same exact fake sun, and they are already on the record terrorizing with directed light. I've documented that before. They're in Los Angeles group stalking. Remember, the name of companies is nothing other than the use to identify literally universally the use of a commercial brand to group stock. So Amazon Prime is the same. Amazon Prime, it's the ability under only that circumstance where Amazon represents a single aspect with regard, it's the single company, but the company is everywhere, group stalking. That the company engages in state surveillance, in other words, and brings security group stalking in the Ontario Mall in Ontario, California, and the entity is group stalking, and that is brings security in Upland, California under a fake sun in the morning where I would go to the 7-Eleven. Terrorizing with engineered light, brings security while bearing weapons. It's group stalking with LAPD, and I documented that federal license plate. And this is speaking to massive public corruption. You need to know what those demons that are, they supposedly have such a serious responsibility, an important responsibility. They're terrorists and they're group stalking with the corrupt terrorist organization, the LAPD, who knows exactly what I documented about them. And that's why at that moment, look at the timestamp of the pictures of Brinks, and I am speaking to what was already documented. Moments later, the demons who are following from place to place like LAPD always is, okay, they're group stalking, flying over in a helicopter, incriminating Brinks. That the entity that engages in this system, the system is so, oh, you're supposed to engage in something, and then the bully shows up in the helicopter, and that doesn't work. That puts that driver in federal prison. Okay, that the people go to federal prison for that. The Brinks, the driver of the Brinks vehicle, civilly and criminally prosecuting for terrorism, and they are bearing weapons. So when they want to, again, they're getting in and out of vehicles, for example. Let's give an iteration of the P.O.C. They're getting out of a vehicle. They're going to get the money out of the 7-Eleven. They're bearing weapons. They're group stalking an American citizen, though. That target individual suffers in silence. They're scared to death while the fake sun and engineer light is all over them. A demon driving a Brinks vehicle is molesting them with engineer light, terrorizing, scaring the crap out of them, while outwardly conducting themselves. The focus is they're going in. They're doing something important. They're not concerned about the targeted individual, the so-called paranoid schizophrenic, in the specific environment, molesting with engineered light while the entity is following the target individual in helicopter, and they are going in bearing weapons on their hips, which is terrorizing, also threatening the life of that American citizen who's subject to the P.O.C. that Brinks security is, excuse me, not Brinks security, but Brinks is engaging in, because Brinks also sells alarms. But this is Brinks, the one that they move large amounts of money. They go in and out of these venues. They're group stalking while they go in and out of the venues. They're group stalking at the same time, just like the demon that's cleaning the toilets in the high school, that's driving the school buses with the children. They're group stalking at the same time with the entity that is stalking and following around in helicopters, telling on the demon driving the Brinks vehicle. So that's what I just documented right now, and the entity engages in the highest threat, and that's relevant for what is already on the record. Brinks is very well documented, engaging in the same exact pattern of conduct, where there is no reconciling the light source that's over me and over Brinks, who is group stalking and also doing the same thing in Los Angeles. That's how you're going to prosecute the people of the state that are terrorists engaging in state surveillance, with the inept and highly unintelligent but very life-threatening level of obsession and mental psychosis. That's what represents the entire demon-infected Los Angeles Police Department. They are very much aware of what's on the front page of my YouTube channel, and they are still stalking to date. Dominic Choi is going to be prosecuted. He's a terrorist. And this is speaking to, again, the template for how the terrorist organizations who are engaging in domestic terrorism and federal stalking, with 7XWK166, molesting with engineer light, 6S93858, JB718, that's a handicap license plate, and I'm at 8th Street and Bixel, and the fake sun is over me while I'm being molested, terrorized with engineer light. And that's the same exact P.O.C. that Brinks is engaging in. It doesn't change because that demon's in some sort of vehicle that assigns some sort of level of importance. No, actually, that's a demon-possessed group stalker. They wish that they were important. None is as important. The center of the demonic universe is centered around where I'm located, the sun and the moon over me. Okay, that's what the demons in LA County have revealed, and that's what I'm publishing to the world. And you're going to federal prison where you're group stalking with a corrupt agency. License 8TBK207, molestation 98RF346. They're the same demons molesting with engineer light. License 7GTB578. Never is sunlight coming across the street to touch on the inside of my vehicle or on my body. They're all sex offenders together. 8BJY162 and license 8SHP242. Access, you already know what they're doing. License 1437660. Going out of their way to cross paths. This is the entity engaging in their own demonic, demon-possessed, this is their demonic-inspired acts of retaliation. When you are exposing the demon Karen base, whose office is associated with the public corruption that Access participates in. Arriving at Alvarado Gardens in the morning under the fake sun, terrorizing with engineer light, arriving in the afternoon at Alvarado Gardens where there is no sun. You see it over me at the freeway. Let me show you what Access is engaging in. This is what they were doing at Alvarado Gardens. It's P.O.C. It's 350. Alrighty, again, capturing group stalking by Access Transportation. Again, that's license 1437660, vehicle number 414532. Group stalking on the freeway, just like every other demon, and in concert with the same demon possessed and corrupt, and to be disbanded and federally prosecuted. The Los Angeles Police Department, which is on video, and you have the drivers of those vehicles, they're going to be prosecuted for group stalking every Access driver that was participating in. They are engaged in their terrorist group stalking, and it's not a coincidence that the demon-possessed and corrupt leader, Karen Bass, her office is directly tied to Access Services. They take ownership and pride in what is actually criminal conduct and state surveillance that Access facilitates and engages in. Impossible light moving across the wall, the brick wall on this freeway, while this demon is driving this vehicle with the Access Services logo on it. That this is demonic activity. And Karen Bass, her condition is also known. You're not ignorantly connected to what is entirely demonic, engaged in what is a pattern of conduct by the state. Karen Bass is, let me be clear, this is a demon, and you understand what demon possession brings. It brings mental illness. So this is public corruption, and psychopaths are calling themselves mayors, and their corrupt leadership is the reason why federal group stalking and monitoring can coexist with their presence in office. Okay? It is not merely dereliction of duty, which is all that you can say if you want to disregard the evidence of the fact that you're demon possessed, and the companies and the any organizations and anything that you are affiliated with is thereby poisoned by your involvement, and you will be removed. You must be removed. You're a public safety concern. Okay, Mayor Karen Bass's name and her office is associated with the criminal activity of Access Services, who's engaging in terrorism while I'm driving on the freeway, and I have a right to not be subject to this psychotic conduct. This is what the entity does. This is a Latino male driving that vehicle, and he's group stalking with all the rest of them. But understand what the demon possessed do. They engage in group stalking using brands or people that you are that you've documented. This is the work of Satan. Satan does it, and while they engage in that pattern of conduct, it's to its own demise, because it's speaking to, okay, well, everybody remembers what Access Services was engaging in. That's exactly what they're doing right now in an entirely different location. So you look at the documentation where Access Services is at the facilitating venue of Alvarado Gardens, because there's no sun that's over the Alvarado Gardens. It's relevant the fact that it's not the natural environment. While they are there, maliciously engaging in the use of their business services, transportation services, to terrorists that live at the crime scene, with terrorists who are stalking in helicopters. And I'm in an entirely different region where you're going to juxtapose that whole crime scene where Access Services was directly engaging in it. That is all that you can gather, where demons go out of their way to practice the pattern of communicating a threat by using the same brand when they know that they've been documented, they know that they've been exposed. That's speaking to the mindset, the self-defeating and destructive mindset of the demon-possessed, okay, who are a threat not only to themselves but to each other. Okay, and you can prosecute for that. This is the pattern of conduct by the corrupt entity, though. So I just want to be clear with regard to the public corruption that Access Services and the entire workforce. It's not just the unfortunate circumstance of those that are driving these Access vehicles. It's not just, in other words, not just that demon that's driving that Access. Everybody that works for Access, everybody associated with Access, it is a corrupt business, and it's associated with the state, LA County themselves, including the mayor. She's a demon, and she is corrupt. That's why this is happening on her watch. And the fact that it's demonic. Let me be clear. Anyone that is not of this condition, the contrast, the spiritual conflict would be inherent. And this cannot exist in peace and thrive if there were anybody that was different, that would resist what Satan is doing amongst these organizations, amongst the city, amongst the people, amongst these departments. But that's not what's going on. The reason why it's thriving and continuing, the reason why the LAPD engaged in such heavily documented, absurdly criminal and obsessive conduct of stalking, it is blatant stalking in helicopters. All right? The entity does so because the federal group stalking and monitoring is doing well. It's doing well. And I am here to disrupt that. And if there were anybody of a different spirit that were not, in other words, serving Satan, demon possessed, as mayor, as fire chief, as chief of police, even as a deputy on the force, you would not have the ability to maintain the secrecy and to maintain the ability for so many people and everyone everywhere to be participating in the pattern of conduct. That wouldn't be the case, but that is the case. And you know what her condition is. And I'm referencing the demon-possessed and corrupt leader, Karen Bass, who is ill-equipped. She is disqualified. And this criminal system is occurring on her watch. And on that alone, in addition to what the world needs to know, that she serves Satan, and you understand what comes with being demon-possessed. The spirit of a sex offender, a closeted sex offender. You have a closeted psychopath that is highly malicious and is desperate for no one to know anything about what is occurring on her watch, for what she supports, for what she's engaging in. And it is this demonic system. That's why she has that position. That's why Satan gave it to her. Okay, it is currently 3:56 p.m. 9 JKM 807. LAPD flying over my vehicle while I return to LA and it's flying over my vehicle because it's very exclusive what the entity does with a light source that's not even the sun, and what the entity does with engineered light that is not sunlight. That's the P.O.C. And that's what is very highly illustrated for the world to witness when I go somewhere like Costa Mesa in Orange County. And that which is supposedly the sun is not possibly the sun is directly over me, while an entity is crossing path in helicopters, while the entity is maintaining engineer light. That's what you know when you go circle back to the documentation of the demon-possessed LA County. It is currently 3:56 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, it's currently 6:08 p.m. I am in Los Angeles, and I just took still images of my presence inside of Courtyard by Marriott at Orion and Ventura Boulevard in Los Angeles, Sherman Oaks. License 9FWK022 is engaging in surveillance in the parking lot, stalking in the path with the method of light activity, and is on surveillance camera going into the 7-Eleven where the fake sun is directly over that 7-Eleven as I'm walking out. Okay, this is speaking to the sex offense that I'm about to be subject to inside of Marriott. License B995VO, crossing path 9MUC208. 9MWC040. We're an entity that is of a very specific condition. This is demon possession upon surveillance. Speaking to both the natural and the supernatural means of criminal surveillance, also via communication devices. License 7LKB736, an engineered light across the road while they cross path 5XAA574. I want to be clear, the entity engages in terrorism via directed light by the thousands. They're crossing path in traffic. You have hundreds of people in traffic, and each and every last one of them engaging in terrorism via directed light. So I just want you to understand the reason why I document this, understand the size of the offense, the size of the violation, the enormity of that terrorism that the demon-possessed are targeting one person with. Okay, and then you have the government itself that uses helicopters and fire departments and those that are driving ambulances, and they're stalking you. There's no mystery behind that. It's very specific what the entity is doing, and this is the ability to identify who is being targeted. Contrary to what the entire entity works very hard and is diligent to maintain anything other than that appearance of what is absolutely despicable and disgusting. It's nauseating what the government is doing in California, what a population is doing. But that's Federal Group Stalking and Monitoring. It is currently 6:10 p.m. Again, I'm at what is third-party facility convenient Courtyard by Marriott, located at 15433 Ventura Boulevard in Sherman Oaks, California, zip code 91403. And that is at the intersection of Orion and Ventura, where the fake sun is right over me. Okay, this is P.O.C. All right, capturing helicopter activity. You already are aware of the recklessness of the demons that are the terrorist organization LAPD. So helicopter clapping while granted, that's the license plate. They're captured in a screenshot. 9LSV304 is crossing path and pacing with 9MJX176. But nonetheless, granted is crossing path, stalking in the path with hazard lights on. The fake sun is right here over me, in between Orion and Moore Park. At the intersection, granted with a heart, GR heart NTED. She's going to federal prison. That's an African-American woman. She's group stalking with an African-American male who walks to her vehicle while they're stalking in the middle of the street with hazard light. That's called flashing light. It's light activity under the fake sun. Let me be clear. These are black people who are targeting a black woman with law enforcement, a corrupt law enforcement, not actual law enforcement. This is criminal conduct that I'm exposing the supposed, alleged, purported law enforcement agencies are engaging in. There is no such thing as a legitimate Black Lives Matter agenda regarding African Americans in California. They're targeting people that do not serve Satan. That's what the black people are doing. And amongst the spirit of racism, they are using it as a distraction while people are being targeted. Okay? Just want to point that out. Now, get me wrong. There are many demon-possessed people who lose their lives and they happen to be black. That's not what the P.O.C. is. The demon-possessed, understand, they are engaging in what is conduct, and they're putting themselves in a position that's supposed to be substantially similar to the targeted individual, and will provide not evidence, but will provide distracting narratives regarding the reason why a particular person lost their lives at the hands of law enforcement. And racism is something that Satan would prefer over your knowledge about the fact that it is satanic at its core, and that it's criminal conduct, and it's a part of a system of sacrificing people. And if they happen to be black, the narrative of racism is what always applies. And that is not the core issue. As I'm showing, black people are targeting black people with corrupt law enforcement agencies, okay? The so-called war amongst the people that claim Blue Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter, they're acting together, and they're targeting as the same condition demon-possessed, Satan-serving minions, and they're group stalking together in California. That's the reality. And granted, that's a license plate. She's going to federal prison, and the employees that I captured images of, they're at the front desk on surveillance cameras. They're going to federal prison. And so the recklessness of the LAPD is going to put every person, and I'm going to continue to document, because they're just going to go to federal prison as they're stalking while the people surround. Okay. And as I've already stated the rule, I'm at Courtyard by Marriott, and LAPD does not care that people are going to federal prison stalking with them. 8BJT185 is crossing path. And they're doing so under a fake sun that's not possibly the natural environment. Now, while I'm in a place that I've never been, Sherman Oaks, at Orion and Vermont. How is that outside of any window of Monrovia facing Myrtle and Huntington? I'm going to tell you that it's not. And that's how you know that 7MOK999 is a demon-possessed group stalker in a position to maintain criminal presence on behalf of demons that are a part of terrorist organizations that are hiding amongst the titles of law enforcement agencies, and they're not. They're violating the law while they're targeting people. 9MJX176 is a demon, and engineer light moves across the upper portion of the venue of Courtyard by Marriott, while a demon on the opposite side of the street walking a dog is group stalking in concert with the LAPD that relies on that criminal presence to keep a person under surveillance. They're monitoring together. It is currently, again, 6:22 p.m. in this specific environment. And like I stated, I captured images of criminal presence working at a venue, the employees of Marriott, and that is federal prison. Okay. Doing so while the people are pacing all around in engineer light outside. That's federal prison. It is, again, 6:23 p.m. This is P.O.C. Crossing path is RDJ M42. That's a Florida plate, pacing with 8RSC041. P.O.C. All right, 3LTZ291 is the license plate of the African-American demon-possessed group stalker targeting me like any other white demon-possessed person and every other Asian demon-possessed person, any other, mulatto demon-possessed person. You can pick a color, any color, because it's not legally relevant. And he is targeting with the third party with the granted license plate while the entity was sounding helicopter activity under what is an engineered environment. This is engineered light, not sunlight, nor is that the sun that's over me at this very precise location where the entity will keep the fake sun tomorrow as well. You know the pattern of conduct. Under no circumstances ever could there ever be a sun present here at any time of the day, let alone what it will be in the morning. And it's already here in the evening. So you already know, how could it be here in the morning? This is what the entity will do. It's the end of the day, and yet in the morning it will be over this venue. That's the pattern of conduct. Pacing, license plate, 62570. That's a handicap. And so I just want to be clear again. That's 3LTZ291, who is group stalking with the state that sounds helicopter. He's going to federal prison, and so was the third party that was driving the vehicle with the granted license plate. And I just want to point out, with regard to your identifying demon possession, and you're identifying the wicked, you're identifying all of these carnal, distracting theories that Satan utilizes to throw you off of the scent. For PFP261 to throw you off of the scent of what Satan is doing, pointing out to things such as Black Lives Matter. The Los Angeles Police Department is entirely corrupt. They have black officers who are demon-possessed, and they serve Satan. 7TLJ444. This is not something that is based on race or motivated by race. Racism is nothing other than one type of demonic spirit. Okay? 4PFP261. This is an aged third party pacing up and down the street, engaged in Title 18. Okay, everybody that's license plate I'm getting, and the entire, let me be clear, Marriott, Courtyard by Marriott, that company is going to be prosecuted for federal stalking and criminal surveillance with the state, who engaged in what is stalking, terrorizing an American citizen with helicopter, and they know that. That's why the fake sun is over their venue. Everybody in California is poised and in position to maintain the elements of monitoring, because this is what the entire population is doing. That's why Engineer Light is moving across the hotel, while a random person that I don't know, never saw before, is engaging in the same P.O.C. though. Engineer Light moving across the hotel, an impossible occurrence while they're just driving by. Okay, and that, by the way, is the prosecution of the whole population, contrary to what the entity thought. Okay, the P.O.C, the foundation is already laid. So the entity stalking by helicopter, I'm just going down the list who's going to federal prison. And it's going to start with the front desk. The employees, it's not just the front desk, I just want to be clear. Everybody working at Courtyard by Marriott, they're going to federal prison. Okay, P.O.C. It is 6:27 p.m. Right, it is currently 9:08 p.m. And this is documentation of what is indeed Courtyard by Marriott. I just want to be clear, the entire franchise of Marriott, Marriott, in other words, is a terrorist, a domestic terrorist. They're engaged in state surveillance with the government, that is the state of California. And if I'm correct, and I'm pretty sure I am, Marriott is throughout the country. It's a national company, if not an international company. They are engaging in terrorism in the U.S., and they do so with the population, the people of the United States, of this country that's engaging in domestic terrorism in the U.S., and they do so with the government. The facilitating venue is the hotel. And ongoing engagement in the criminal system, the terrorizing system, are the patrons, who are the people of the state, and the employees, who are the people of the state. And so I've already captured the specific environment, and at this venue in Sherman Oaks, where there is certainly no sunset in alignment to my bedroom window of Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, California, and Sherman Oaks, the street where I am standing at Orion and Vermont, and Ventura, and the entity is keeping a fake sun over me, while also the engineered light coexists with the presence of that fake sun, as opposed to what is the sun and sunlight. Sunlight doesn't ricochet to the upper portions of any building. This is the demonic environment where criminal surveillance is underway, and Marriott is being exposed as a terrorist. This is a domestic terrorist, and this is identifying terrorism with regard to what the ways in which America is engaging in domestic terrorism. It's demonic in its nature. And so the demonic behavior is that which is occurring inside of a venue. That's where you get recognition for terrorism by company name. Demonic activity is occurring while people engage in it. This is how you are recognizing terrorism, as it is underway by a person that is a part of an entity. You have a terrorism that's recognized by the behavior that's engaged by the government, for example, that stalks in helicopters, and the demonic methods in which they do so. That's how you are recognizing terrorism by virtue of state action. In other words, the demon that's flying that helicopter is a part of a department that is practicing federal group stalking and monitoring. And they're doing so with the demons who are in that same demonic environment, in the same exact demonic behavior. And that's how you're recognizing the use of the name Marriott, which will be interchangeable with terrorism in the United States. And this is relevant for what will be also the civil and criminal prosecution of third-party group stalker at Marriott. In other words, is a group stalker. That is literally synonymous with what is terrorism. Marriott is a terrorist. They're engaging in and they facilitate terrorism. And like I stated before, the entity amplifying audible activity of helicopter activity just surrounding me while I'm on the street, emptying my car out, and the fake sun is there, the engineered light is there. And so what I've already shown you, where one aspect of the P.O.C. is present, all other aspects are present. So the entity doesn't have the fake sun there because the entity is not monitoring. It's just the fake sun that's there, but there's no engineered light, and there's no amplified audible activity, and there's no pacing. That's not why it's there. The entity is present, and the entity is present in the specific environment. And one aspect of one demonic feature is speaking to and is evidence of all of the demonic features. And the entity is inside of this private space, which is a sex offense that's underway by the entity. And I've already shown the specific environment. The specific environment remains inside. And the demon that is above room 420
is engaging in what is pacing, and this is a sex offender that's acting on behalf of the whole entity. The employees of Courtyard by Marriott are going to federal prison. The entity already engaged in group stalking by helicopter while I'm at this venue. The fake sun is in relevant position to me, in perfect alignment with me at this venue, even while I'm walking under the fully covered structure of the entrance of Courtyard by Marriott. Impossible light activity is touching on it doesn't get any more satanic than that. And this is how you're witnessing the presence of Satan, and the presence of Satan is personified through the very employees who are Courtyard by Marriott third parties. And they're going to federal prison because they're group stalking with LAPD, who funded helicopter activity, while I am emptying my vehicle to go back into this hotel where I'm subject to the perpetual sex offense that the employees of Courtyard by Marriott are engaging in concert with the demons that they are checking in and out of these hotel rooms. And this is also relevant for the RICO charges. But nonetheless, Courtyard by Marriott is fully surrounded with not only surveillance cameras, but also my documentation, which is it's only supplemental, and it is substantial, but it is supplemental to what the federal government has at its disposal with regard to prosecuting the demon-possessed entity that is maintaining criminal presence inside and all around of Courtyard by Marriott, where amplified audible activity is underway while I am publishing my YouTube videos onto the internet, and while I am publishing my podcast onto the internet, and while they are engaged in other words Title 18 criminal conduct, which every single third-party group stalker, both by company name as I individualize the entity by image, by capturing them on video, capturing their license plates, as I was at Alvarado Gardens, capturing their name and their social security numbers, they will all be prosecuted for federal stalking under Title 18, which is, by the way, relevant to federal stalking in concert with the government. And the facts and circumstances support federal prison. So these are very serious federal charges that the people of the state are running. They are sprinting into very serious federal charges, while a psychopath, and what you also know that the psychopath is a sex offender, and you also know that the psychopath that is a sex offender is a stalker, and a very highly demented stalker that is engaging in what is very disturbed pacing, as opposed to one being looked at as a normal individual, as a normal human being walking around. That's a demon-possessed person. That's a mentally deranged psychopath who's engaging in highly malicious criminal conduct. And I am not being hyperbolic in my description whatsoever as what the people of the state and what the state are engaging in the specific environment. It is all manner of demonic activity. And this is a mentally deranged person that's engaging in what is pacing around in the hotel room above me, aware of what I'm doing on the internet, on my communication device. And that is only one demon, because the demons on all sides of my hotel room are engaging in the same criminal conduct, and they act in sync. And everything that's happening, just as was the case as I'm describing the demonic behavior and the real-time knowledge that the demon-possessed maintain, and it goes from the demons in traffic, the demons in the buildings all around Courtyard by Marriott, the demons in the sky space, as you see in commercial airline planes, in the small planes, in the helicopter, the demons that are maintaining presence inside of the hotel, they are in sync. They are all in sync, and everything that they are doing is based on their joint knowledge regarding me, what I am doing. And that is speaking to what is prosecution civilly and criminally by Courtyard by Marriott, while they are facilitating, and if there is evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that they are facilitating state terrorism, for which you go to federal prison. And also you go to federal prison for engaging in the system, which is psychological torture, conspiring to murder and kidnap someone while the entity is stalking a helicopter. In other words, the entity that you are literally holding hands with the state that's stalking and doing things such as stalking somebody in a helicopter, and you're sitting right there or standing right there or maliciously working at that venue, you're going to federal prison. So the entity is doing so at the desk, and I captured their images. That's just two of the many employees that are at Marriott, and they are not different from what Best Western was engaging in as an employee. Okay, everybody inside of that venue at Best Western were engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring. And you are talking about going there, prosecuting the people, speaking to what is showing what is a template for what all of the population are doing on a ceaseless basis. And that reveals a sex offender, that reveals a stalker, and that reveals a mentally deranged criminal that does not have a criminal record that reveals the threat that they are to the public. And that's the purpose of the prosecution for federal group stalking and monitoring. And it will be the prosecution of thousands of people. And it is going to be the prosecution of the state of California. Okay, so a very easy means for the entity to engage in a sex offense, which is a conspiracy to murder or kidnap someone, is checking into a hotel at Courtyard by Marriott. And they're doing so while I'm documenting amplification of audible activity and also what is stalking with activity conduct. The entity placed me intentionally on the 4th floor. On this 4th floor is where the pool is. There's a ballroom. This is means of surrounding me with demons who were pacing all around on an all-night basis, as opposed to putting me on the floor where there's no one able to be outside of my room, for example, absent of walking, pacing in and out of the hallway. The entity intentionally put me on the 4th floor where there is activity both inside of the building and also outside, because on the 4th floor there's a pool and spa right outside of my room. Demons are pacing all around, group stalking. And based on what I do is it's directly commensurate with what the demons do while they know what I'm doing, especially as I document the demon possessed. Okay. So that's relevant. The criminal purpose to engage in what is harassment as an entity, stalking with audible activity, pacing all around me, engaging in a perpetual sex offense that is monitoring me, and also engaging in federal stalking while I'm inside of a private space, doing so in concert and on behalf of the government, doing so while you are aware of the fact that American citizen is documenting, that is enforcing their rights to not be subject to it, and yet you persist. By virtue of your presence, you are engaging in the criminal system. But the entity is doing more than that. The entity is amplifying audible activity as though, again, and another Marriott at that. This is speaking to the franchise, but it's not just the franchise. It's speaking to the ongoing system that is occurring everywhere you go. But again, you have the demon possessed. This must be another 775-pound person. And by virtue of their, I'm assuming that they're walking, unless they're engaging in double dutching or they're doing backflips. But I want to be clear, the ordinary structure of hotels, they're charging over $200 for a room for a night. And yet you're talking about hearing every footstep that they're making while they're in a room above you. And this is not the stay, this is certainly not what Marriott is advertising on television. And this is not the ordinary character of a stay in a hotel where they are charging the money that they're charged, and everything is paper thin, and you can hear everything that they're doing. You can hear them peeing in the bathroom. You can hear them turning on and off the shower. This is what the entity is doing when it's group stalking. And it's called, first of all, audible activity under all circumstances. Second of all, you need to know that this is a demon. This is a demon that's engaging in what is demonic pacing, and their pacing conduct is amplified in volume. That's terrorism. And it is not distinct from any sort of means where the entity would like to say, oh, well, no, you can naturally hear its criminal presence and its audible activity. And the fact that this entity is demon possessed is already established. And it is indeed amplified. Where the entity is amplifying helicopter activity, when you are flying miles away from me physically, and I'm able to look outside of my window and see you, you're not even present in sight yet, but I heard you long before you were in sight. That's your ability to see amplification. Okay, I don't have a schedule when the demons are going to show up in a helicopter. They're stalking me, they're terrorizing and harassing me, and I document it as they engage in it. So the entity is engaging, and it's already surrounded with the proof of what is amplification, and it's demonic. Amplification is always underway. Always. You saw the fake sun outside of this venue. You saw engineered light into the depths underneath the structure. The entrance of Courtyard by Marriott, there's an extensive cover. There will never be any sunlight underneath it. That was engineered light, and a white-faced demon, an aged Caucasian woman, driving an expensive vehicle at that, just in case you want to differentiate between the demon-possessed and those who drive a Maserati, who would never be group stalking me, all right? And let me be clear, in the same engineered light, pursuant to my presence at the entrance, that demon-possessed psychopath, a sex offender, having access to minor children, group stalking a woman that she does not know, and is engaging in criminal conduct with the government. And she is looked at as some noble being that would never violate the law based on the preconceptions that are unjustly assigned to her as a white woman in California. These are all of the ridiculous presuppositions that people apply when you are racist. And let me be clear, that's a tool of Satan. That white woman is stalking a black woman, and doing so while I'm walking into a hotel in Sherman Oaks, where the fake sun and the demon drove an engineer light, and engineer light appeared above her car underneath the structure while she was monitoring me. She's demon possessed at that. She's a psychopath, a sex offender, and a deranged a criminal. And she's acting with the entity that is group stalking, filling the hotel. That demon is what fills the entire hotel. And that demon is what is working at Marriott, and they're going to federal prison. So I just wanted to recite that. This is ongoing harassment, and this is what the entity is doing on a ceaseless basis. So you're understanding why federal prison is a default basis for prosecution. You're understanding, especially when you're talking about systematic facilitation. It is systematic facilitation when you are living at a venue, or when the entity is working amongst the target individual. When you are doing something as far as checking into a venue where the target individual remains in order to maintain, you are planting yourself to keep them under surveillance. That's sick. You belong in federal prison. You belong in a facility. You will be subject to systematic mental examinations. You will have an extensive criminal record so that everyone else in the country will know where you are a convicted terrorist, because domestic terrorism is no longer something that's limited to those that are engaging in something akin to the Oklahoma bombing. No, domestic terrorists fill the state of California, and they call themselves law enforcement agencies. They call themselves mayors. They call themselves police officers and sheriff's deputies. They call themselves firefighters. They call themselves teachers. They call themselves nurses and doctors. They call themselves attorneys. They call themselves do-gooders, philanthropists. They call themselves housewives. Okay? They call themselves parents, mothers, and fathers. And they're terrorists. That is the people of the state in California. Okay, so I just want to be clear. This is documentation of what is ongoing terrorism while a very mentally deranged psychopath is engaging in criminal conduct on behalf of the entity. And that's ongoing audible activity, incessant harassment, which is audible activity serving to monitor. And it is going to be prosecuted as harassment. But it's even beyond that. It's amplification of a demon that's monitoring, and it will be assigned to every demon that's going to be prosecuted. It is currently 9:23 p.m. This is the psychotic conduct that the demon-possessed Dominic Choi and the rest of the LAPD, they are acting pursuant. They have the same demonic spirit on them. They have the same spirit of a sex offender on them. That's what's following me around in helicopters, flying over my head today at yet another location, Planet Fitness. And the employees inside of Planet Fitness are going to federal prison. They're engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct here at the Sherman Oaks Courtyard by Marriott. And you have many of those that are checking in and out of hotels, and they're going to be federally prosecuted for domestic terrorism and federal stalking under Title 18. And the entities engaged in harassment and terrorism as an entity while keeping a method of amplified noise inside of my hotel room, which is the pattern of conduct. All right, it's currently 9:24 p.m. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:59 p.m. This is documentation of Courtyard by Marriott. This is P.O.C.
Yeah, services, this is Adrian. How can I help you?
Hi, Adrian. This is Erica. I'm calling from room 420. And I'm calling, I've been in my room for not too long. I checked in not too long ago. And unfortunately, it sounds like there's someone up there that's having either complications or perhaps they're heavy. I don't know how thin the floors are, but they're creating a substantial disturbance. And they're literally
upstairs?
Yeah, right above me. It's very, very loud. And I checked into my room and I wanted to have a relaxing and quiet evening. And I thought that I could get that at Courtyard. Is there a way that you can help me with that?
Yeah, let me first get up there and see if I can figure out what's going on with the sounds, and then I'll get in contact with you in a bit.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Okay, this is documentation. First of all, that's audible activity. Courtyard by Marriott is monitoring me. They're monitoring me in concert with the people of the state that are staying in the hotel, that are present in the hotel, doing whatever they're doing in the hotel. They're group stalking. This is documentation of I'm bringing the fact that they're engaging in group stalking me, and that they're engaged in federal stalking, and that they're doing so with the people of the state by dealing with them in their alternate universe, in their malicious existence regarding the fact that no group stalking doesn't exist, and the fact that they're ignorant about the noise level. The noise level is for purposes of group stalking. Okay. And there is a third party, and this is the same pattern of conduct. Every hotel, this is the same problem. And it's not because somebody is hypersensitive. You're talking about every hotel. Also, the fake sun is there. At every hotel, the entity is stalking in helicopters. At every hotel, the entity is stalking amongst the engineered light. This is the pattern of conduct. Harassment and terrorism is built into the pattern of conduct, and that's what is worthy of federal prison and draining the pockets of the people of the state that engage in the state's criminal system commercially, because you're talking about psychologically tormenting, harassing as a whole entity everywhere the target individual goes, every place that they go, through every single person. That is like an unfathomable level of disturbance by the population that is being targeted toward a person. Everywhere that they're going, people are harassing them. everywhere. Demons that are engaging in what is presence while amplified audible activity coexist. So as I touch my stomach, so a demon is stomping. Okay. As I move my leg in my bed, so a demon is making noise directly above me. As I download a file on my phone, so a demon begins stomping. So I'm calling the demons that are the Courtyard by Marriott employees, and I'm documenting what is their criminal engagement in federal group stalking and monitoring by reporting the fact that a demon that they know very well is the same condition as them, group stalking like them, with the state like they are, and this is just documenting the P.O.C. They can go and address it, but I want to be clear, the entity will continue to amplify audible activity. What the entity will do is it will amplify, they'll alternate, then the entity will just engage in direct state action, amplifying plane activity or helicopter activity, amplifying traffic, demons amplifying their voices, and they're jumping in the pool, for example, outside of my room, which is why the entity placed me on the 4th floor specifically. Whatever, the entity will amplify ongoing activity. I'm addressing the fact that I paid hundreds of dollars for this room, and they are engaging in what is a method of amplified audible activity. My tour, if you will, and I put that in air quotes, of going from hotel to hotel is for purposes of exposing the state of California's criminal system. And this is exactly what I engaged in 2018, when I immediately resigned based on the threat to my life that I realized I was subject to, while the LAPD and every other corrupt law enforcement agency were stalking me as I would go from court to court as a practicing attorney. And as soon as I became aware of this, based on the unlawful basis for a traffic stop by the LAPD officer Umata, all right, and he is engaging in the pulling me over for a traffic stop, which he did not have facts in order to substantiate what he stated that he saw, which was my not having a seatbelt on. He did it in the specific environment, and it was in conformity to the pattern that I was already realizing, and it was literally the abrupt cause for resigning from my job and starting my own investigation. Yes? Oh, hi. Okay. Hi. Yeah, you just checked me in. I don't hear the noise, but you can come in.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, they might not do it while you're in the room.
Would always be the case, right?
Right.
The only option is if I do change you, it would be on the 5th floor, but it's gonna have like no view. It's gonna be like the top of another building.
Oh, I'm not looking outside. I just want to.
All right, so give me a second. I'll be right back with some keys for you.
Okay, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
No problem.
You can close it. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so that is indeed the person, Adrian, who checked me into my room. Going to another room is, I'm still going to be subject to the P.O.C, and demons are surrounding everywhere. The entity, it will not be a peaceful, quiet room. The entity is always engaged in the pattern of conduct, and they will engage in the audible activity creation, amplified audible activity creation in another manner, in the ways in which that I spoke to. And so this is indeed what prompted my resigning, however, from the law offices of Michael Bialis. If you can imagine, which again, you can't, because I already know that you can't. You do not understand what this is unless you are subject to it, which is why I am convinced that the Lord Jesus allowed it to happen to me so that I can advocate on behalf of those people who are subject to this, and they don't even have the words or even the intellectual capacity to comprehend or understand or survive what they're being surrounded by, what they are being targeted with. It's designed to literally deconstruct you mentally, and designed to result in you're being, as the people term, being unalived, if you will. But I'm not going to speak in ambiguities. This is designed for you to either be murdered or for you to engage in suicide. That's what psychological torture serves the purpose of. That's what group stalking serves the purpose. And group stalking, which is demonic activity, doing so through the works of Satan, that's what psychological torture is about. And this is the demon possessed. So I just want to be clear, moving me to another room. This is, again, you're dealing with people in the flesh, but you're dealing with a system that is demonic in its nature. So you are learning to train your eyes with regard to what is very malicious, which is how it'll be prosecuted in court. And you're dealing with that which is spiritual. I have given the evidence of it in the natural. These are demons, and they are stalking, and you readily identify it through the demonic environment that follows me around. Then you're able to see how a population is stalking. Okay, that's what group stalking is, as opposed to traditional stalking, where it's one person. No. The population is stalking you. The population is stalking while a demonic environment surrounds, and while they employ the same exact demonic behavioral pattern. That's what group stalking is. Okay, so the entity does the amplified audible activity with regard to my every movement. He knows very well about everything I just said. They can move me to another room. They need to. All right. But it's not going to remove the harassment and terrorism. And I will document that. But this is the ongoing P.O.C. and it's 10:06 p.m. This is documentation of what is harassment and terrorism by an entity. And this is speaking to the mental illness that are the people of the state that are demon possessed. And this is, in other words, mental illness is very popular. And it's not because of the speeches that you've been given. Oh, you know, a lot of people, mental illness is you've been lied to about what mental illness is. Let me be clear. The demon possessed are telling you about what mental illness is. Let me be very, very blunt. Okay. And so you have many who are in the medical field, and I'm just going to leave it to the state of California. But what California is doing is what the rest of the country is doing. That's not the sun over you out there in Florida. That's not the sun. Okay. So like I said, there are many in the mental health field, in psychiatry, and the medical field in general, and they are giving recitations about what mental illness is. And they are mentally ill. Their mental illness is not one of where you're ignorant about the wrongness or the impropriety or the fact that it's unacceptable, the fact that it's weird, okay, the fact that it's dark and evil, the fact that it hurts another. This is that which is psychopathic. Okay. They know very well. And the entity is engaged. They know very well all of what I just mentioned. And that's why it's a secret system. And that's why it's demonic. That's why it's maliciously underway. Okay. This is why it's a matter of public corruption that is occurring in plain sight. Even the fact that it occurs in plain sight, you are supposed to assume that the target individual is a paranoid schizophrenic because they're just walking by you. What is wrong with walking by you? This person is crazy. What is she talking about? I'm stalking her. I don't know her. All I'm doing is walking. They're crossing path in the specific environment, and they cross path at the moment that the target individual is doing whatever they're doing, including on a phone. So all you see in the natural on a surveillance camera is the target individual using their cell phone, looking down, and you see another person just walking by, and they're monitoring the target individual. And they know what's going on. They do it with simultaneity to what the target individual is doing on their phone. This is how federal stalking is underway, and this is how group stalking is underway. And it is a very serious federal offense on behalf of the government that you are even present under that fake sun amongst engineered light. And that is what the people of the state are going to respect. They're going to respect it. It's currently 10:09 p.m. One moment.
Hi. Whenever you're ready, okay?
Okay,
if
so I can
just pass by the front desk with the other keys.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. And that is room. You hear the door close? Okay. That is, again, Adrian, who is monitoring with the demon in room 421. They walk in their room. The door closure is a means of crossing path. So while he comes to my door, give me my key to my new room that I'm going to move to. The other demon right across from me walks into, that's crossing a path, enters into 421 to monitor me together while he is engaging in what is the outward veneer for what is requesting or fulfilling my request to resolve the issue of what is amplified audible activity, which is going to continue because I will be monitored whatever room I go to, and the demons are going to continue the same thing. All right. But I want to be clear. He's monitoring me with the demon that walked into 421. The door closure is amplified and volume. Even with the doors closed, they're using it as a means of audible activity creation, which occurs with simultaneity to what you do physically and what you do on a communication device. So, and like I said, you are recognizing the patterns amongst the demon possessed who know of your every move. This is how you are training your eyes, and you are also training your ears regarding audible activity. And this is just the ability to recognize what Satan is doing amongst the population. And it is something that is overwhelming to the ordinary person to think. And I'm not going to say that it wasn't to me. All right. But what I learned, much like when I went to law school, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. OK, so this is dealing with a humongous issue. The notion that everybody that there's a lot of streets out here in L.A. OK, there's a big, humongous freeway, and every single person is of the same condition, and they're all focused on me, and they're all psychopaths that want to outwardly conduct themselves as though they're not. They're demons. It's not based on the fact that I don't know them and have never met them. The demons on them know me. The demons on them are obsessed with me. And that is something that can overwhelm the average person. It's what this demonic activity is all about. Now, this is something where when demons are on police departments and they're stalking, and they wield weapons. Okay. They exercise authority that they don't actually have. Group stalking as law enforcement agencies. They're crawling into helicopters and trying to terrorize people while they are filled with demons. Okay, that's what motivates them. That's what this is about, as opposed to your legal right or your free ability as a department, something exercising any authority that and right that you have within your duties. That's no. That's all an illusion. The specific environment, audible activity creation, relevant positioning. That's what those demons are doing. That's what they're doing. And by the way, there's no ambiguity anymore. All of that illusion with regard to some paranoid schizophrenic, which is malice. Okay. It's very precise, very specific, very targeted what the entity is doing now that you are aware of the specific environment. And there's no question regarding who's being targeted, regarding who is being tortured, psychologically targeted. All right. And this is, like I said, you hear helicopter, everybody around you, federal prison. There are so many people that are going to federal prison. That's why you saw on the freeway, I'll just name the demon in front of me because there's just so many that are going to federal prison. So the entity is, and this is at the point to where, what are you doing anymore? This is what I'm saying. Dominic Choi, he will be promptly removed. And the level of corruption of the LAPD, you're no longer just group stalking for an objective. You've long been defeated in that. What are you possibly doing? Because it's not a question of whether you're group stalking. Everyone knows that you are group stalking, but now that you've lost that endeavor, what are you possibly doing? You are just an angry, demon-infected agency who is just providing evidence against all the people. A whole bunch of people are going to federal prison behind their foolishness. I mean, but don't get me wrong. The people of the state aren't innocent. They're demons. They're all around here group stalking themselves. They deserve to go where they're going. They deserve these consequences. They went out to conspire to murder and kidnap someone. So you belong in federal prison. As I come across you engage, you're going right to the cage where you belong to go. Where you thought you were going to cause someone else to end up locked up somewhere. No, you're going to be locked up and you belong there. And you belong with a criminal record. That needs to be the case because there needs to be a label on you, okay, that precedes you so that everyone knows the threat that you are, so that everyone knows the unstable threat that you are, that you pose in this country to other people. But the entity is engaging in this, and I just wanted to document that. Remember, it's harassment and terrorism as an entity, and so it's literally an inconvenience that I even have to go to another room. But the pattern of conduct is not going to stop. It's not going to stop. And it's an ongoing harassing and terrorizing aspect. Amplification is prosecution for terrorism. Directed light, prosecution for terrorism. Everything that the demon possessed do with regard to monitoring you is going to be prosecuted as federal charges for terrorism. All right, all the aspects of the P.O.C. So anyway, it's currently 10:14 p.m. and the demon with the presence inside of the room directly above, moving me to room 507. This demon is directly above me. I'm in 420. This is the same pattern of conduct. It's the same demon possession over everyone that's inside of this room. And Adrian literally brought me a key card while monitoring with the demon in the room directly across from me, which was crossing a path conduct while he is, again, and this is recognizing the malice with which the demon possessed monitor you. Okay. There is no intention to cease to engage in the pattern of conduct. But that's okay because he's going to federal prison. He works here. He's going to federal prison. He's engaging in terrorism with the demons who are checking in and out of these hotel rooms. And they're engaging in an ongoing, very detailed and specific act with the state. Even at this defeated purpose, you're not accomplishing what are the purposes of group stalking. I will not be kidnapped and you are not murdering. That's not working and that's not going to happen. And you're continuously engaging. Yes, you're going to federal prison. Absolutely. You're out of your mind to even do it. And then you still do it. The federal judge that's going to put you away is going to note the fact that you are so animalistic and determined in your criminal endeavors. That's what that tells. That's what that reveals. So I just want to be clear. That's what is the ongoing analysis with regard to enhancement to federal charges and sentencing. And it's the same exact pattern of conduct. And by the way, it's a very bad commercial PSA for Marriott. While they're engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, you're talking about what is necessarily established themselves as a shoddy and poorly structured hotel everywhere that I go. This isn't the case. They're demons and they're group stalking. It's amplification. All right. And they are hiring the demon possessed. This tells you about, you can learn a lot about the people of the state while I'm documenting this criminal system. Marriott is owned by demon possessed terrorists, and they are facilitating terrorism in the U.S. They hire the demon possessed. It's owned by the demon possessed. Okay. Any shareholders, any board of directors it's the demon possessed. That is, they serve Satan. That's why I can go from Marriott in Monrovia to Marriott in Sherman Oaks, and the same exact pattern of conduct is underway. It's not just some randomness, as I've already stated. And this is the ability to recognize public corruption, even down to commercial actors, company name, any company you want to name. I have probably documented it. And I just want to be clear, there is no exception. It's all of them. The P.O.C. is providing evidence of a substantial amount of evidence speaking to what is the entire state. Every business, everybody in California, everybody doing business in California. This is what California is doing. This is what Satan is doing amongst the people. And what Satan is doing amongst the people are utilizing any and everything they have with regard to keeping American society under surveillance. And they do it through any and everything, including, as I have referred to it, commercial stalking. All right. So this is how surveillance is capable to remain underway seamlessly through the business of a hotel, an innkeeper. And you're going to be prosecuted as a sex offender. Okay, a sex offender. And that's exactly what justice requires. It is 10:18 p.m. and this is P.O.C.